everybody. Giving, receiving, there are no negative emotions, and how vital these concepts are in a great relationship. Hello, I'm Janet Broadbent, and I work with people in relationships. And I've got my friend here with me, Marinna. And Marinna is my teacher, my peer, my go-to person with all these questions about relationships. And we're very blessed to have her here. And I think that really is your goal, isn't it, Marinna, to bless as many people as you can. So
Yes,
welcome.
that's one of my goals. Thank you very much.
Uh-huh. So let's start with giving and receiving. And I was kind of hoping you would start on a very physical way, and then maybe even deeper and deeper and deeper with the giving receiving piece.
Okay, what specifically are you thinking that you would like me to chat about with the physical aspect of like physically receiving gifts and receiving things
Yeah,
like that? Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So what I've noticed over my years of coaching is that we actually have a much more of a challenge of receiving than we do giving, right? Have you
Yeah.
noticed that in your work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And this is receiving all kinds of stuff. Like, yes, it's okay to receive gifts at Christmas or your birthday, right? But I've noticed in myself as well as other people that almost like this, you're better if you're a giving person than if you are a receiving person, right? Because receiving is often viewed as taking. And none of us want to be selfish and none of us want to be takers, right? And so then I think we have built up this barrier against actually receiving. And the thing is they're two sides of the exact same coin. So how can you actually give if you are empty, right? Because you haven't received. And that kind of goes a little bit more into the energetic and emotional realm. But this is also true physically. Like, how can, if you're always just giving gifts and giving gifts and giving gifts, how can you uh, and not receiving them? Like,
It's not sustainable.
it's not sustainable. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not sustainable to be always the giver and not the receiver.
And you also could find yourself being resentful. And it's really yourself that's and usually I believe usually when you're resentful or angry about something, it usually is because of your own stuff. But yeah, it usually could make you maybe resentful that you're always giving, always
Yeah.
giving. It has to be a flow, right? It has to be a two-way street.
It does. What happens if you are not good at receiving and you're just giving and giving all the time? You start to give on an empty bucket. And then that empty, coming from that empty place inside of yourself of giving is not authentic. It's not real. And when it moves over into the place where you're giving, when it's not authentic, you start to build resentment.
So am I hearing you say that maybe we use giving as a cover up or a busy something to keep us busy or make us feel, I mean, when you said not authentic, I'm
Hmm.
thinking, well, there is a difference between giving somebody a gift and it's just from your heart and it's like you're just so excited about it. And then there's another part of giving that could be just for a different motive. Like,
Yeah. So that I can get your love or your acceptance or your approval, right? That's one big
yeah,
one. Another one is so that I can feel like I'm a good person. If I'm giving,
mm,
then I can feel like I'm a good person. And these are not authentic reasons to give, and they tend to end up in resentment.
yeah,
And there's
true.
probably many, many other reasons people give, but if it's not coming from a place of pure pleasure to just give, and what I've noticed in myself and others is that that happens when I also know how to receive. When I am full, when I call it your bucket, right? But when your bucket is full, it's easy to share some water with somebody else. It's easy, but if your bucket's empty, then it's a lot more challenging and you're going to be more resentful, like, I got to hang on to this so I can survive.
Yeah, so true. So true. So then then let's go a little deeper. Let's talk about the giving aspect as far as, say I was in a relationship that I didn't feel like I was receiving enough love and affection and attention and things like that in a more emotional, spiritual way. You had taught me, and it's fascinating. And I think I'm barely touching the tip of the iceberg, but you had taught me that I could give myself, I could give myself those things that I was craving and wanting.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So you want me to dive deep with this one?
Yeah,
Great.
yes.
Okay. So, because this one's a big one, so I may talk for a minute.
That's good. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So in relationship, if you notice in relationship, we tend to want to try to get stuff from our partner. And you hear it all the freaking time, right? Like, they're not giving me the attention I deserve, or I really just want them to love me, or, you know what I mean? These types of things. We're always trying to get something from our partner. This is probably the biggest complaint I have experienced in couples is I'm not getting what I think I need from my partner. So I'm going to propose a radical idea to some people, not to other people. It won't be radical. And that is it's not your partner's job to give you anything. Nothing. That's your job to give yourself. Okay, so that's a really radical idea in the whole world of relationships, right? There's all these
Yeah.
mindsets around like, well, I deserve to be treated this way, and I should have all of these things. And the truth is yeah, you should. It just doesn't need to come from your partner. In fact, it's way more fulfilling when you actually give those things to yourself.
Mm.
And I'm going to talk about this for a second. Okay, so if you have a, let's see, you say you are wanting respect. Let's use respect.
Yeah.
So let's say you're like, my partner, my husband doesn't respect me, and I deserve respect, right? So I'm going to demand respect. Okay, what's happening inside of you is that you don't respect yourself. So everything in life is a mirror reflection of what you are doing or not doing to yourself. So if you're now looking at your partner and you're thinking, wow, he doesn't respect me, or she doesn't respect me, that's a mirror reflection of how you are treating yourself. There's ways you are not respecting you. So if you're trying to constantly reach out there and change your partner, it's like this. And I may have even spoken about this on our calls. I don't remember, but it's like
Mhm.
having dirt on your face and you're looking in the mirror and you're trying to clean the dirt off your face by cleaning the mirror.
Oh, I love that.
It's
Love it.
never going to happen. Ever, 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 ever. So then over time, what people do is like, well, I got to leave this relationship because this person doesn't respect me and they don't love me and they don't, all these things, right? And then they go into get into another relationship. And for the first little part, it's great and it's wonderful because first of relationships mostly are, right?
There we are.
And then pretty soon that mirror starts creeping up again and they go, what? You don't respect me too? I can never find a partner who respects me. And it's because the dirt's on this face. This is
Yeah.
where it has to be taken care of. And when it is, that's when you'll stop seeing it in the mirror. So then
Yeah.
the idea is to give yourself the very thing that you're wanting your partner to give you. And this is so magical, Janet. This, and you probably already know this. I'm speaking to the choir here, but for our listeners, this is magic. It works so well. I'm surprised that more people don't do it.
Okay.
Because, huh?
Okay. And well, okay, keep going. And I want to add something when you're done. Okay.
Okay. And how this works so well is that when you start giving yourself the respect, or giving yourself the love, or giving yourself the attention, the care, the nurturing, what happens is you're not needing it from the other person. So the needy energy is a repelling energy. It literally repels everything you're trying to get from your partner when you need them to show up that way. You're
Yeah.
pushing it away. You cannot have it if you need it. And when you haven't given it to yourself, you're going to come from a place of need, from lack, because it's not there. Okay? So you're literally repelling what you absolutely want from your partner away. So then when you start to give it to yourself, you start filling up that bucket that I was talking about before, you start filling it up with respect and with love and with attention for yourself. And then when you need it from your it's different. It's not like you're going to need it from your partner. When your partner gives that to you, because the mirror will change and he or she will actually start giving it to you, or you'll start seeing it, right? They may
Yeah.
have been giving it to you all along and you can't see it because the mirror is showing you your face is dirty,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
once you finally do make this shift within yourself, you're going to start seeing it or manifesting it being shown back to you. And then all of that is just extra. It's just extra. It's abundance. This is what I call relationship abundance. Is when you're
Mm.
so full of your own love and attention and connection and juiciness, then everything your partner gives you is extra.
Oh, I just love this. Yay. So what I was gonna say, is when you change the way you think and you give yourself what you're expecting from somebody else, I've noticed with me, like I have this split second after something happens to either make it about that person should do this or should do that, or should give me this or that. I have this little tiny second that I can go, wait a minute, if that is what I truly want, how can I give that to myself? Because sometimes it can be so disappointing in relationships when you have in your mind, let's take for instance, um, I had in my mind, I'll build up, that I was going to go visit my daughter and her husband and her little baby and snuggle that baby for a minute in between what I was doing. And anyway, I was in the area, I could just run and do that, but it didn't work for her. And so I could have thought, oh, they don't want me over there. It's just, I'm too much for them or whatever. Or dang it, I really wanted to hang out with them for a minute. And my mind could have gone to, I am not getting what I need, therefore I'm unhappy or whatever. But it was so neat because you had taught me, hey, switch that around. I thought about what I really wanted and I went home and just had real special time with myself. Like it wasn't lonely. It sounds really weird. It sounded really weird to say it, but it wasn't lonely. It
Yeah.
was actually, I got me a snack and a good drink and went and did some, I don't remember if I did some art that I was going to work on or something that I was interested in. And so this literally, you have that opportunity to make the decision right right when you feel yourself starting to need or
Yes.
be disappointed.
And be disappointed. And typically, that disappointment is attached to a story that you're telling yourself, right? Which is what I saw you do in that moment was like you did not attach to the story that maybe triggered the disappointment. Like, oh, my daughter doesn't want me there, or I'm just whatever story
Yeah,
came into your mind, right?
yeah,
Like I'm not loved as a grandma. I mean, people make up all
yeah,
kinds of stories, right? And it's in
yeah,
that moment, if you can catch yourself with the story, then you can go, oh, maybe this isn't even true, right?
yeah,
And then,
yeah,
okay, great. Now, once that story shifted, you're probably not going to even feel the feeling anymore. But if you are, then go ahead and feel the feeling and then go
yeah.
give to yourself what it is you thought you wanted. And I love that example, Janet. That was beautiful. You went and spent time with yourself and nurtured yourself and you didn't feel alone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. I didn't let that story stay in my brain. And I thought, okay, I'm wanting something. I'm wanting something from them. How
Yep.
can I give that to myself?
Yeah, I love it. That's so beautiful. That is such a powerful question. I'm wanting that from them, and how can I give that to myself?
Hey,
And when this happens, what I encourage people to do is like people think of self love as something you do, right? Like take yourself and go sit in a bathtub. That's great. Go drink a cup of coffee. That's great. Have a date with yourself. Those things are great if they elicit a feeling, if they elicit the feeling of love, because what we're all actually looking for in everything is a feeling. When our partner loves us, we're looking for the feeling we get, right? And so if a bath ignites that feeling within you that you're like, oh, I'm just totally taking care of myself, go do the bath, right?
Yeah.
But don't do the bath and be distracted, right? Do the bath and think, oh, I'm taking care of myself because I took a bath. Just taking a bath's not going to be taking care of yourself, not to the level that you want it. It's like, how can you ignite the feeling within yourself of love or respect or nurturing or attention? It's the feeling that we want. And the feeling is a frequency. And that frequency is what we're looking to have. So
Mm.
plan or do your best to ask the question with the thought in there of like, what's going to ignite the feeling of me feeling like I love myself? And
Mm.
sometimes that's words for people, sometimes that's feelings for people, sometimes that's actions for people. So,
Wow. So the feelings, if we have a good imagination, I mean, I've coached people that have such a such a vivid imagination. They they have planned out their whole day and their and even an accident and even their funeral to the detail, right? People that have really good imaginations that are dealing with depression or whatever. And I feel like if we can use that same skill of imagination and create that feeling,
mhm.
and that really is what it is. Our bodies don't know the difference.
No, doesn't. It doesn't. We can actually generate whatever feeling we want. Years and years ago, in the very first, I don't know, a workshop, kind of a retreat, kind of a thing that I ever went to, the facilitator had us do something that has stayed with me for the rest of my life. And what they were talking about was you can generate whatever feeling you want to generate. And so he, at the time that when I went through, it was a she that was facilitating, and then later it was a he. But I saw it more when the male facilitator was teaching, and he would say, "Okay, when I snap my fingers, everybody gets to jump up and be in complete joy and excitement, right?" And so then he would go, snap. Everybody would jump out of their seats and right, and create that feeling. And then he'd say, okay, now when I snap my fingers, I would like everybody to pull up sadness. Boom, right? And we'd all right into sadness. And what that did was that showed me that we can generate or call on or tap into, whatever your verbiage is, whatever emotion we desire. Whatever.
Right.
It doesn't even matter. We have access to it whenever we want it,
That is such
right?
a good point. I love
And
it.
so, why couldn't we sit with ourselves and pull up love, right? Pull up
Mm.
gratitude, pull up, oh, I care about you, and really have the feeling. Where people get stuck with this is their stories. There's
Yeah.
stories about what that means, what love means, what gratitude means, what people get stuck in what it means, right? And the reason they do is because of past experiences, and then we connect love with pain and all this kind of stuff, right? And so it's like the stories, you got to be able to move beyond the stories, which will be a whole other video, I'm sure,
Yeah.
because there's
Yes.
so much about story. But once you deal with the story, then you can generate the feeling easier. So if you're having a hard time generating love like that for yourself, deal with your stories about yourself.
True, true. When I was working on that generating, I call it, I have my own generator. Before I felt like I had my own generator for those feelings, I would I would visualize myself as somebody that I felt like was more powerful, like Jesus Christ and whatever person, their image or whatever. I would imagine him with his arms around me, generating that love or that tenderness. And
Hmm.
but I feel like that our imaginations are the key for
Yeah.
this piece, this relationship
Yep,
key.
definitely can be. In one of the recent classes that I did, there was a lady who said, it really helps when you talk about that it's my inner child that's feeling the emotion. It's a little child that's feeling the emotion. And when I go and be with that little child, it's easier for me to love that little child than it would be my seeing my adult self there and giving her a hug, right?
Wow. We
Because
have
the
seen
person
you.
had children, right? And they love
Yeah.
their children. It's like, oh, but that was me, And so visualizing it and using your imagination in that way can really make a difference.
Ah, that's powerful because all of us can, every one of us can love on a little child, put our arms around a kiddo
Yeah.
that's crying
Yeah.
and the little kiddos, they are okay with any emotion.
They are.
They are okay with all the emotions, which brings me kind of to the next part of our video. I think we should go on unless you have something else
I
with.
do have one more thing I wanted to
Yeah.
say, and that is that if there are people who are struggling to generate love, to be able to love themselves or generate a feeling, right? One of the ways that I love to help them use their imagination to do this is to visualize or see or feel something or somebody that they love completely unconditionally, right? Something like a puppy, or if they really love puppies, right? Or their aunt who was always so good to them, right? Like, and really start generating that love within themselves and then project it on yourself.
Mm.
I love that. There's also, when I've had people do this, there's still some people who really struggle feeling love, generating love or tapping into love. And so then the next step would be to get into your remember. That's the word I was trying to look for. Remember somebody or something that loved you,
Ooh, love
right?
that.
That can take
Yeah.
it a little deeper. Like if you really don't have a neural connection of love being positive, think about somebody, even if it was a puppy or a kitty or you know what I mean, a horse,
Yeah.
something out there that loved you, so that you can start to have some sort of a experience of the feeling of love, right?
Wow.
And then the next level would be to get curious. If you just really cannot feel love, or your love's just tied with pain, period, start getting curious about what love is.
Hey, I wanted to insert something there.
Okay.
When you said get curious about what love is, I was visiting with a friend the other day, and she was telling an experience of something that happened to her and how the kids in the room responded or in the vehicle responded. That's where she was at, is in a car. The kids responded in a very loving way, and she stopped and she said, that is what love looks like.
Mm,
So if we start acknowledging
yes.
things, like maybe even you just make a comment to me, hey, I really appreciated you, this and this, or something, or whatever. That, if we stop and say that is what love looks like, you know, little things
Hmm.
that we acknowledge.
Yeah, and start recognizing what love looks like. Then the more what you focus on expands, right? So keep
Yeah.
focusing on what love looks like for you, and that can expand in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Wow. And it
beautiful.
can be simple little things. I woke up in the morning. I'm with my husband and I were gonna head to bed, and there was a dirty pot in the sink. And I said, "Oh, let me scrub this up real quick because I want to wake up to a clean sink." He said, "Oh no, I'll get that in the morning." He wakes up before I wake up. And I thought in my mind, "Oh, I don't think he will. I'll be able to do it in the morning." Right? Went to bed. And sure enough, I got up in the morning and that was all scrubbed up and the sink was sparkly clean. And that is what love looks like, you know? He could have just got his warm drink and headed off to work, but he didn't. He scrubbed that out like he said he was going to do.
That's a really great example, like of a way of something, an action that somebody else does that you go, oh, that's what love looks like, and then allow yourself to feel the feeling.
Yeah. To
Yeah, I
just sit
love
there and
it.
kind of smile and feel it. And
And
yeah.
receive it. So you were just receiving it in that moment,
Oh, yes. Okay.
right?
So what if with receiving, Marina, is it not receiving if I keep score and I want to one up him?
Yeah,
Like,
that is not receiving.
but it's kind of fun.
Really? I'm going to challenge that. Is it really fun to keep score? To always have to have everything be like tit for tat?
No, no, that's not the fun I was thinking of.
Yeah.
But more like, darn, what can I do that's small.
Oh, okay.
I mean, kind of like that, more like little things that, you know,
Yeah, got it. Got it. Got it. Most people, when they're keeping score, are keeping score from making sure their needs are met, and that is
okay.
such a lack place to come from. If you're making sure your own needs are met, you're going to be in abundance, and you're not going to keep score in that way. But what I'm hearing you talk about is like that little act of kindness that your husband did for you. Now you're like, oh,
Exactly.
now what can I do for him? Right? That
Yeah.
to me feels like it's coming from a
Yeah.
genuine giving and receiving kind of a place. And that's
Okay. So
beautiful.
it's kind of almost like the spirit in you, the way you do it, the intentions
Yes.
are
Come from.
everything.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
What's behind it is everything, because you can give and give and give and not be saint like. You know what I mean? You can be
Right.
giving from an empty bucket and full of resentment and hate and anger, or you can be giving from a full bucket and just be in passionate love with the whole world and just want to give to the whole world. And that's
Yeah.
completely different.
Okay. So this receiving giving is just, it's
Yes.
fabulous because it's kind of almost like our whole universe operates on these principles,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the oxygen, we bring oxygen in and we let oxygen out. Um,
Yep.
when we're holding our breath, we're not receiving, we're not,
How much can we keep giving a breath? Like we
of,
can't. We have to receive. Receiving comes first.
oh, that's right.
Giving always comes first.
So
So
true.
the idea is to give to ourselves, to receive from ourselves so that we have something to give.
Oh,
I mean, I guess you could look at it as you're giving to yourself first. So maybe giving comes first. Maybe it can come first to yourself so that you can
yeah.
have a full bucket so that you can give to other people.
Wow. So when a baby is born, they take this deep breath of air in,
Yeah.
oxygen in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that
Yeah.
is so cool. That is exactly how we start life is by receiving. That
Yeah. And
is
yet
so cool.
our whole society is based on how much can you give? Or a
Yeah,
lot of it is. I mean, I know there's people that aren't, but yeah, it's
we
like,
compare.
yeah, how much can I give and how much can I give, because then I'll be viewed as a good person. Then I'll feel like a good person. When
Ah,
that's the fastest way to leech from yourself.
that's so true. So true. Wonderful points, Marina. I love it. I love it. Okay, so you made this broad, um, rash statement. You said no emotions. There are not negative emotions.
Hmm. Yeah. So in our society, again, I hear it so much and I cringe every single time I hear it. It's like people will talk about, and a lot of really powerful teachers and everything will talk about negative emotions,
Yeah.
right? That you've got your positive emotions and you have your negative emotions. Well, when we have the story that there's such a thing as negative emotions, what do we naturally want to do?
Just kind of get away, get away. I don't want to see it.
I don't want to see it. I
Right?
don't want to face it. I don't want to look at
Yeah.
it because it's negative. So in our society, negative has got a connotation of bad,
Yeah.
right? Negative
Right.
means bad. So people don't want, a lot of people don't want to be bad. There are some that want to be bad, but a lot of people don't want to be bad, right? And so they avoid negative emotions.
Mm.
So if you look at emotions as energy, emotion is energy in motion. That's all it is. It's energy. And the energy that's moving through your body is neither positive nor negative. So the ones that feel good aren't any more positive than the ones that feel bad are negative. So there's no positive nor negative emotions. That's my bold statement to the world. There's no positive or negative emotions. It's neutral. All of it's neutral. And it is what we make it to be, right? So if we have these positive emotions we're seeking, right? We're going to always be, oh, I got to feel good. I got to feel good. I got to feel good, right? Which is an absolute avoidance of the negative emotions. I can't feel those. Well, here's what
Mm.
happens. All the emotion is flowing through the same hose. It's flowing through the same body. If you squelch one emotion, you're squelching all emotion.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
So if you're like, well, it's safe to feel sadness, but it's not safe to feel anger. Or it's safe to be happy all the time, but boy, I cannot feel fear. You're actually limiting the amount of happiness and joy that you can have because you're not willing to look at and have that fear or that anger, because it all runs through the same thing.
Wow, that just blew my mind.
So the opposite is also true. Once you're willing to face negative emotion, or in
Mhm.
my case, something that's uncomfortable, an energy, a feeling, a frequency in your body that is uncomfortable, when you're willing to face and feel that as much as you're willing to face and feel good, see if I can put it into words. Something magical begins to happen. You start to have everything come into more of a place of wholeness. Okay. And I look at wholeness as like you're not trying to get away from the dark and you're not trying to only stay in the light, right? Like it's sort of like the most beautiful time of day is sunrise and sunset. Why? Because it's got such a beautiful mix of the dark and the light, the
Ooh.
shadow and the light. It doesn't, some people will look at it like, well, I got to get rid of all the shadow aspects of myself, right? I can't have those dark, uncomfortable whatevers, right? Because they're bad. But what happens when you bring them to the light is it ceases to be bad and it ceases to be all fluffy, and it brings depth. So the shadow brings depth to the light, and the light brings, oh gosh, I don't have the word. The light brings oh, dang it, a lighter. I can't say it, but I think people will know what I'm trying to say. The word's not coming into my brain, but it brings to the darkness. So the darkness ceases to be bad. I don't even know how to say it yet. So, and then you have like this mix of color and stuff you would never have in the middle of the day or in the middle of the night. You
Ooh, I
never
like
have
that.
that mix, right?
It's a different spectrum of a different palette, maybe, of
Yes.
colors.
Yes. And I'm not saying night is bad and day is bad.
Yeah, yeah.
All I'm saying is that when you bring the two together, and I'm talking about emotion as well as many other things,
Yeah,
but when you bring the two together, those bad emotions cease to be bad.
yeah.
And you actually get greater depth in the light. So your yummy feelings, the ones that feel good in your body, have a deeper richness to them. They're not superficial and fluffy, right? Have you ever met a person
Because
that's like all light and their voice is even all light and everything's wonderful and everything's good and we just can't look at all that other stuff because it's too ugly and I'm just trying to be the best person I and it's like,
yeah, yeah.
Daphne, you're too fluffy. I cannot
That's
relate
right.
with you. It's not there's no depth, right? And it's the
Right.
depth of that, the intense emotions like anger and sadness. It's the intensity mixed with the light and the joy and the love and the all of that that brings a richness to it.
Oh, I love it. You've given me so much to think about. Marinna, this okay, so the whole way we talk about emotions puts that light on it, that
Yeah.
darker light.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
The good and the bad about
I
emotion.
mean, we
Mhm.
probably haven't talked to our little kids like, don't be angry,
Right.
why you have no reason to be angry or whatever. I mean,
Yeah. Until we deal with it within ourselves, right? We're
yeah,
going to deal with it in our children the same way. That if
so
we can
true.
change that, then we can change the way we deal with emotion altogether. Because children, like you were saying before, children are so natural emotion feelers. They don't judge emotion. It's not till their parents go, "That's a bad feeling. Get rid of it." That they're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, had disappointment from my parent. Okay, I guess that's bad. I should never feel that again." But that's
I noticed
impossible.
it is.
It
It's
is so
impossible.
impossible to
Yeah.
not feel an emotion.
Wow. Unless you're just so shut down, you can't feel any emotion.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that is something I've noticed with us adults. We've gone through some bumps and scrapes and things in our life, and then if somebody asks us, hey, how are you feeling, it's sometimes really a challenge to tap into that and
Yeah.
feel
Hmm.
what there
Yeah.
is to feel.
Yeah. And you notice that people who are um, majorly depressed or really can't feel a lot of stuff, they can't feel the joy either. They
Yeah,
can't feel the love either. They don't feel anything. And that is actually, from my perspective, the true meaning of depression
yeah,
is when we're not feeling anything.
right. So what if I was a person that was dealing with massive depression, or maybe even just I would have depressive moments, almost manic depressive moments. Um, what would your advice be for somebody that, if somebody came to you and said, "Man, I have these weeks or whatever, maybe 1 week or 2 weeks of just so much depression and anxiety." Would you just teach them how to breathe and how to feel? Would that be your basic?
That's exactly what I've done. I've done this, right? I've had
Yeah.
people come to me with both anxiety and depression, and that's the first thing I teach them is how to feel again, how to be okay again. The biggest thing: breathe and move your body. If you do nothing else, breathe and move your body. The
Mm,
challenges, and I've dealt with a lot of depression through my life. The challenges is when you're depressed, you kind of want to be depressed,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
You just
yeah.
kind of want to. That's kind of the ugly side of depression is you're depressed and you kind of just want to stay there.
And it
And
pisses you off when people try to pull you out of
yeah,
it.
it kind of pisses you off when people try to
Yeah.
pull you out of it. You don't want to be, but I guess pissed off is a little better than not feeling anything, right?
Right. And so that is the thing about an anxiety attack is your hose, so to speak. You gave that analogy of a hose, the water flowing, and the hose got kinked, no emotions at all. And then suddenly you have this panic attack, and
Hmm.
you're like, I am so angry, or I'm so scared, or I'm so this, that you're just like feeling big, big feelings, right?
Yes, 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 yes. So anxiety oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes it's a result of trying to control something in your life, right? And so if emotions are one of the things you're trying to control, yeah, when that opens up, you're going to have a massive anxiety attack because there's all this water coming through that you can't control,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, start learning how to deal with emotion when it's little.
I love talking to you about these subjects because when I would visit with people and coach people about mental health and relationships, I could I could feel I mean, I had words for almost everything, but I wasn't going down to the root cause. And that is our next video. I want us to do a root cause video that gets to the core of it and starts working and building yourself back to being healthy and well and happy. Because
Yeah,
really basically it's just how big your desire is to be healthy and happy. That's
yeah,
it. I mean,
yep, yep, yep. So back to the person who's depressed and wants to be depressed, right?
mhm,
But doesn't because you have both really going on, right? You kind of want to be
mm,
there, but there's a part of you that doesn't. So if you can get yourself just breathing, if you're laying in bed and you're doing absolutely nothing, you can just start breathing, right? Then maybe you can start moving a little bit, like even if it's just your hand, like
yeah,
start breathing a little, start moving a little. And then if you can start being present with emotion when you want to, you'll start pulling out of depression. I don't deal with depression anymore and haven't for a good handful of years because I've just really been doing this work.
oh, I
I
love it.
also take care of my brain, right? Like I also take supplements that support my brain, right?
Yeah,
But I'm doing the work on the physical as well as the emotional, and that makes all the difference in the world.
I like that you combine both of them. I think that is a pretty important.
Mhm.
Make sure your hormones are balanced and you're
Yeah,
getting the nutrients that you need.
yeah, because nowadays hormones are a big thing. Like
Yeah,
everybody's hormones are off, right?
yeah.
And that can really add to depression. And so, yeah, take care of yourself physically too, so that it makes it easier to deal with the emotional stuff.
That's awesome. Well, I think the people that I visit with and that I associate with are going to be super excited to see this video. listen to this. It's something that you can plug in while you're driving and listen to it. And, I think that's very helpful. I love your tips.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so does that feel like all the questions, you got all your questions answered?
I think so. I think so. I'm excited that we're going to make tons of different videos with different topics. I love hearing your thoughts about it, and I love going deep with the different topics that we're going to talk about. Super
Awesome.
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. And
Thank
thank you to our,
you.
yeah. Thank you to all of our watchers for showing up today and blessing their lives, enriching their lives with new information or maybe
Yeah.
integrating old information or
Yeah.
something like that. So thank you for showing up and we'll see you next week.
Now, Marinna, when we post this video, if people have ideas on different topics and stuff, that would be wonderful if they posted that with
Yes.
under our video. Post it
Yes,
and
yes.
we'll,
Ask questions.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ask questions about topics you would love to hear about.
And I have never ever asked a question to you, Marinna, that you weren't able to shed some light on it. I mean, there's times that you say, "Well, let me think about this. Let me get back with you." And so I would love it if people would give us the hard questions too.
Yeah, bring them on.
Hey,
Bring them on. If I don't know something, I won't pretend to know it.
yeah, okay,
That's not who I am. I'll say, well, you know what? I don't know that. I don't know much about that field. So, but here's
nice.
somebody who does.
Yeah, nice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.